The government of Venezuela dismantles a new conspiratorial plan of the extreme right-wing opposition financed by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. The President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, called on the U.S. government to take greater responsibility in tackling drug trafficking. And in Lebanon, Israeli occupation forces continue their escalation of aggressions against the southern border area. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from TeleSUR Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The government of Venezuela dismantled on Thursday a new conspiratorial plan of the extreme right wing with terrorist operations financed by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. Precisely, the Venezuelan Minister of Interior, Diosdado Cabello, unveiled the new destabilization plan forged by the fascist right wing against the people of Venezuela. Cabello detailed that the Operation Oro, or Gold, was aimed at settling in the state of Guarico and causing the fall of the government of Nicolás Maduro. The Venezuelan Minister of Interior also disclosed authorities investigated and succeeded in dismantling the terrorist group, detaining 18 terrorists who sought to destabilize and damage military units in the territory.
We investigated and a group of mercenaries was arrested. And I repeat, there's no way to disassociate political violence from this type of violence, because they were the initial promoters. Or do you really believe that the assault on the fort in the state of Bolívar was spontaneous? No, that was all part of their plan. And they are the same ones who at this moment are claiming and saying that there is going to be signals in the Venezuelan sky. But the signals are here. They are arrested. That is the best signal we can have for the peace of this country, that this terrorist group has been dismantled and arrested. They know we will get to them if they participate actively in this kind of actions. There's no way we cannot get to them.
Cabello also denounced the role of foreign governments, such as that of former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, which helped terrorists during Operation Aurora, a similar plan executed 6 years ago against Venezuela.
We have been following up on a series of statements made by the spokespersons of this terrorist group who have a presence in the social media, in the networks. We have always insisted that foreign governments have been actively behind this whole operation. Just pay attention to what this man says, that he was extracted from the jungle by a Brazilian army helicopter. So Brazil knew what had happened in Venezuela, and the Brazilian army took them out of the jungle and takes them to a place in another city. Where they were held for 20 days and then released. That they were told to leave Brazil is a lie. That's what he says, but they never left. The Bolsonaro government played an operative role in that terrorist action against the Venezuelan military forces.
In Venezuela, the government rejected the statements made by the commander Albin Halsey during his recent appearance before the U.S. Senate and demanded that the U.S. political sectors abandon the rhetoric of confrontation and respect the self-determination of the free peoples. In a communique, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela categorically repudiated the false and reckless statements made by the commander of the Southern Command, Albin Halsey, during his recent appearance before the U.S. Senate. These statements are baseless and repeat the same deceitful narrative bought by the Biden administration, with which the Venezuelan ultra-right has swindled them, using millions of dollars from U.S. citizens' contributions. The statement adds, the Venezuelan ultra-right has swindled them out of millions of dollars in contributions from U.S. citizens. The accusation of drug trafficking, corruption, and destabilization are nothing more than fake news and dirty war campaigns of the past, which have already proven their failure. They seek to justify their own mistakes as well as the complicity and corruption that has led them to the situation faced today by extremists in Venezuela, trying in addition to cover up the real illicit trafficking networks in the region, whose roots are widely known by the Southern Command. The government concluded by stating, Venezuela faces drug trafficking with a sovereign and responsible model, firmly combating a problem whose roots are outside its borders. We reject the disqualifications of U.S. military organizations such as the Southern Command, which have a history of interference and colonialist attitudes. The Bolivarian government reaffirms its commitment to peace, stability, and a multicentric and pluripolar world. We call upon the political sectors of the U.S. and other countries of the world to support the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. In Haiti, several refugees from the town of Kenskov remain sheltered in a school as criminal groups continue to lay siege. The population of Kenskov, a commune high above the Port-au-Prince metropolitan area, continues to suffer the consequences of terrorist attacks that took place 15 days ago, claiming at least 150 lives. Local authorities stated that criminal groups have been murdering and setting fires to homes and schools. The International Organization for Migration reported that in 2024 and so far in 2025, the number of displaced Haitians has tripled, exceeding 1 million people, more than half of them minors. The Haitian National Police eliminated several members of the criminal group Cras de Barrière in the capital's community of Pétionville on Tuesday. On social networks, the Haitian National Police reported that during the shooting, several members of the group led Bethel Home Innocent were seriously injured, although the exact figure of members executed was not specified. According to data verified by the United Nations, the armed conflict in Haiti has left around 5,626 deaths and 2,213 wounded. For several years, the capital area has been marked by criminal operations of the Cres Barrière, who imposed their law by means of intimidation and violence. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, called on the U.S. government to take greater responsibility in tackling drug trafficking. Sheinbaum assured that the issue is not solely a Mexican problem, but it involves U.S. criminal organizations responsible for the distribution of drugs. In this regard, the Mexican head of state emphasized there is an ongoing cooperation with the U.S. administration in the fight against drugs and highlighted efforts to curb the flow of narcotics. Additionally, Sheinbaum addressed the issue of arms trafficking from Washington to Mexico, noting that she and former President Trump are
There's also organized crime in the United States. And there are people from that country that come to Mexico to carry out these illegal activities. We mention that because then who would distribute fentanyl in the cities of the United States? Because the problem is not only the drug that passes from Mexico to the United States, but who distribute that drug in the United States. For the unfortunate big consumption, particularly of fentanyl, in that country.
Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva questioned Thursday Trump's intention to prevent rich countries from negotiating on the environment to confront climate change. In this sense, the Brazilian president condemned Trump's behavior, regretting that fewer and fewer countries want to commit themselves to saving the planet. Trump announced the exit of the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement, promised to increase oil exploration in addition to encouraging the use of plastic straws. Despite the differences, the Brazilian government intends to invite Trump to the United Nations Conference on Climate Change, although the diplomat assesses that his presence is unlikely. In Argentina, dozens of wildfires remain active in Corrientes province, where over 200,000 hectares have been hit by the blaze. The Association of Rural Societies of Corrientes argued that fire outbreaks have damaged grasslands, pine forests and crop fields located in sparsely populated rural areas. The National Institute of Agricultural Technology reported that so far in 2025, in Corrientes, fires have devastated just over 94,000 hectares, which represents 1.1% of the entire surface area. The coordinator of the Operational Command of Emergencies of Corrientes, Bruno Lovinson, described the situation as extreme, but he advanced experts forecasted rainfalls on the week could bring relief to the damaged departments. Australia braces for the arrival of Cyclone Celia and announces closures of schools, airports and mining activity. The country's meteorological department said that Celia is expected to reach Category 5 and that there could be very heavy rainfall and destructive wind gusts. It also reported that it is expected to make landfall on Friday afternoon between the towns of Caraza and Port Hedland, registering sustained winds of 175 kilometers per hour and wind gusts of 250. Authorities took timely action by moving vessels to safe areas and suspending all academic, aviation and mining activity in likely areas to be affected by the phenomenon. And we have a second show break coming up before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, that you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final show break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Israeli army committed to 170 systematic humanitarian violations in Gaza after ceasefire began. Palestinian authorities claimed that Israel was violating humanitarian agreements and urged mediators to force Tel Aviv to abide by the terms of the pact. Last week, more than 90 people were killed and 822 others injured by Israeli attacks since the beginning of the ceasefire. In addition, 2 more citizens were killed by bombs buried in rubble and 24 died as a result of injuries sustained during the aggression. For its part, the Israeli army has destroyed 85% of the water and sanitation facilities in the Gaza Strip during the 15 months of its aggressions against the territory. The Palestinian government warned that as a result of the situation, the coastal enclave is suffering a serious crisis in the sector, which is home to more than 2 million people. In addition, the paralysis of the sewage treatment plants is exposing the population to numerous epidemics and diseases. The Israeli occupation forces have intensified their incursions into the occupied Palestinian territory of the West Bank, killing more than 70 people in 2025 alone. The city of Tulkarem and the surrounding refugee camps have been the target of Zionist attacks for 18 consecutive days, causing extensive material damage and heavy losses. The United Nations organization revealed that at least 40,000 Palestinians have been forced to leave their homes since the beginning of 2025 as a result of the Israeli bombardments and siege. In this context, the governor of the neighboring city of Jenin, Muhammad Jahar, denounced illegal detentions and said that the damage caused by Israeli bulldozers in the last 3 years is estimated at more than $3 billion. The Egyptian and Jordanian governments reaffirmed their position on the immediate start of the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip and the rejection of the displacement of Palestinians. Both countries reiterated their positions, including the crucial need to fully implement the ceasefire agreement, continue the release of prisoners, and facilitate the delivery of humanitarian aid to the area. They also expressed the need to put an end to the genocidal and displacement practices of the Israeli occupation forces against the Palestinians in the West Bank. They also reaffirmed their willingness to work with the United States to achieve a just and lasting peace in the Middle East, and stressed that they remain firmly opposed to the forced transfer of Palestinians. In Lebanon, Israeli occupation forces continue their escalation of aggressions against the southern border area. In the village of Odaisi, the Israeli army carried out intense raids and bombardments that left dozens of houses destroyed. At the same time, the occupation troops attacked the southern zone and set fire to heavy machinery in a factory in Lebanese territory. In this context, the Lebanese government has stated that there is no agreement with Tel Aviv to extend the ceasefire beyond upcoming February 18th. In China, at least 4 people died and 20 others were injured after an explosion at a warehouse in the city of Taichung on the island of Taiwan. According to the city's fire department, the fire broke out in the Shinkon Mitsuki shopping mall at around 11 a.m. local time. The agency also stressed that more victims may be found during the inspection of the site. Although evidence points to a gas leak, the authorities have ordered an investigation into the cause of the incident, as it is not yet known whether it is related to renovation work being carried out at the complex. In Cuba, the Havana International Book Fair opened its doors and is set to welcome 400 guests from more than 40 countries, offering an estimated 2.4 million books during its upcoming edition. The most renowned literary event on the island is scheduled to take place from February 13th to 23rd. According to organizers, the Republic of South Africa will be the guest of honor of this edition that will be dedicated to the 130th anniversary of the fall in combat of Cuba's national hero, José Martí. The main theme of the event will be a whole country in books in commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the territorial editions system, and it will pay tribute to Cuban writer Virgilio López Lemus and researcher Francisca López Ibeira. The Chilean artist Rata Virus, alongside the artistic Contra la Pared and Casa One groups, have been carving a mural in La Teja neighborhood to pay homage to former President José Pepe Mujica. They are using the Virus unique technique for the mural, which measures around 25 square meters, containing the image of Mujica together with his phrase, "To stop fighting is to stop dreaming." The leftist Tupamaro leader had fought against 1973-1985 dictatorship, and he was president of Uruguay for the term 2010-2015. Nowadays, the 89-year-old former guerrilla is suffering from esophageal terminal cancer. Therefore, the artists were willing to tribute him alive.
Pepe made me realize that it is possible to fight for ideals, to give one's life for ideals, to give one's life for the neighborhood, to give one's life for the people. It is a very unique neighborhood. The people who live here are very rooted. and Pepe Mujica is an ethical and political reference.
Radio is a medium of entertainment and communication that has been in use since the last decades of the 19th century, and precisely every February 13th is celebrated as World Radio Day. The date was proclaimed in 2011 by the member states of UNESCO and adopted in 2012 by the United Nations General Assembly. Its main objective is to make of radio an interactive media that encourages debate on different topics of collective interest. Every year a theme is chosen for the celebration of World Radio Day, and this year's theme is Radio and Climate Change. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.